guys, before today's video gets started, I want to tell you about our giveaway. April 1st through April 30th, 2023, we're giving away this 2,000 horsepower capable HED LS engine. It's 387 cubic inches. It's got an aftermarket LSR aluminum 6-bolt block, mass 255 LS3 heads, and it's packed with all kinds of goodies and topped with a shear fab intercooler intake and a Icon throttle body and a set of billet motion Raceworks valve covers and a bunch of other goodies. You also get 2 precision turbos. To win, all you have to do is spend $5 at Motion Raceworks. There's no maximum amount of entries. Full rules and details, check out the link in the description below, but definitely head over to Motion Raceworks or tvmbrakes.com and get yourself some parts. Hey guys, welcome back to the Motion Raceworks YouTube channel. As you can see, pumpkin spice is on the lift. It's about time to get back on this unit. I have a goal with this thing, just a personal goal. It really doesn't do a whole lot. But I will make us more competitive in the rowdy radial class that we race in, and that is to make it a 4-second 8th mile 26-inch tire car. I think it's definitely achievable, as I said in previous videos, but it's going to require some changes. Since the last time we had it out, which was the last day of sick week, I got a 169 Power Glide, so taking the 180 from the El Toro out. I sold my Turbo 400 and bought that 169 Glide. I have a new Greg Slack converter. It's properly spec'd, so we won't have to spray nitrous on it to rev it up. So it should work better all across the board, because if it wasn't happy there, there's probably other issues with it. Remember, that was a converter I just had like sitting around and I threw in. Additionally, I realized this thing still had an iron third member in it. I had an extra aluminum third member that I put a 370 gear in, so that'll really help this thing get out of the hole and get moving faster. Gonna do that, and then we got some new Motion Raceworks parts. Some you can see that we just released, like our new fuel filters, which I'll show you in a minute. And then some prototype stuff is gonna go on this thing, which I of course can't talk to you about because we just need to get to testing it. Some of the stuff we test on multiple vehicles, and pumpkin spice is a first with a couple of these parts, but if you can spot them, good, but I'm not gonna highlight them in the video. But this is one of the benefits of having multiple race vehicles like this going. We can try them in different environments. This is different than my Nova. This is different than El Toro in certain ways. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why we keep a whole fleet of race cars running as much as we possibly can. Of course, that's a challenge in itself. All right, so that's the old 180 Glide. Here's the new one that our buddies at Long Motorsports built for us. That's what will be going up in this unit. And then, like I said, gotta get this iron center section out. That's a lot of weight. Number one, from a servicing standpoint, but then like I said, we changed the gear set in it, so we got 370 unit going back in there. This is actually, I don't even know where I got this third member back in, like way back when, but I know for a fact aluminum through bolt was not in the budget, so that's what I had. You know, I think everybody really, at least I despise the regular style paper gaskets, so I'm gonna try this out. I got a couple of these a few years ago, and I haven't had a chance to put them on yet. It's got a O-ring, I guess it's reusable, built into it, and no scraping, no RTV, so we'll see how this holds up. But I'm hopeful that this is gonna be a long-term option for 4 9-inch sealing of third members. So the new third member is getting ready to go in, but this hopefully will do the trick. All right, 56.75 pounds for this aluminum through-bolt style rear end. This should be a perfect apples to apples, so we'll see what the iron one weighs next. Brian, what's your guess? What's this iron one weigh?
72.
72.
Ooh, 68, man.
68? Rika, what do you think this iron third member weighs?
55.
Well, you're already losing. 70.65. What'd you say?
68.
What'd you say?
72.
Whoa.
Close.
I think it's closer to Brian. Actually, to be honest with you, not quite as much weight savings as I thought it was going to be.
You forgot to divide by 0, though. I'm closer.
So if you've ever owned a Fox body, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. But the little map pocket holders, they never used to make these to my knowledge. And if you look at pumpkins, they're pretty sad. So putting these on are going to be nice and crisp and new, and really kind of dial in the quality of the interior of this unit. When I built this car, like any young kid, I just took all the stuff out of it and just threw as much away as possible, you know, keep it lightweight. it's kind of crazy to think that we're restoring Fox bodies and third gens and stuff from the 80s and 90s, but there are actually companies reproducing a lot of this stuff now. There weren't probably 10 years ago, 15 years, whenever I got rid of it. It was hard to find a lot of stuff. The interior parts and trim and all that stuff nobody cared about. No companies were interested in making it. But I did find that one of the stops on Sick Week was National Parts Depot, and they had a lot of cool stuff. Hope I don't bore those of you who are here for racing with some restoration, but it should be pretty satisfying. All right, just gonna show you guys how much a difference that makes. Looks like a new car. Of course, it needs a little bit of grunge and grime to match the rest of it, but I doubt those matched from the factory. I will note this is about a 10-minute operation, so if you got saggy mat pockets, easy upgrade, easy way to fix something that's been bothering you. Hand door number 2 is done. I need to get a new handle. Luckily, I think NPD has those. And then you can see this thing is just packed full of parts. So I got my work cart. You might notice this new G45 unit from Garrett. This is a 80 millimeter turbo. This thing is, I think they're rated at like 1450, 1500 horsepower, which is of course subjective depending on what it is. I think my plan was today to actually take the old Borg Warner unit off and put that on, but I think the more I think about it, what I'm going to do is put this new gear ratio transmission, this new converter in it, and the new gear, which, I mean, all of that is going to work. It's what the car needs. And just see how much it picks up, just for my own fun, my own sake. We know that it's not going to have a problem spooling anymore, so we can put all that on there, baseline it, see where we're at. And then once we kind of get that dialed in, put that new turbo on there, and we can really see, you know, kind of the low range, the mid range, all that stuff. So it's gonna turn into a couple more videos. Who knows? Maybe we'll go 4's before we put the new turbo on. Maybe we won't. But I don't want to get too crazy right away. It's fun to like chip away at things. That was really kind of the whole history of this car. Is that it went from I just want to go 990 to low 8-second car in a quarter mile. And that's where we learned everything. We chipped away at it. We paid attention. We made changes constantly, and we maximized combos. So I don't want to lose sight of that. At this point, you guys might be saying, boy, he's changing everything on the car. Two things I learned in racing over the years. One thing, don't be afraid to call your own baby ugly. If things aren't working or you want it to improve, be ready to start over and take all the parts you had on the car, throw them in a corner, and start back. The other thing is, don't do it all at once, which is why I think I'm going to do the turbo later. So you don't have to get ready if you stay ready, right, Gary? All right, to go along with our new converter and transmission, I want to be able to monitor not only converter charge pressure, but line pressure. So we're going to use our Rife transmission trans pack. This is a really simple way to add transmission pressure sensors to a transmission, new or existing. The really nice thing is it has a bracket that works on Powerglide, 400, 4L80. It's actually slotted enough it'll probably fit any transmission on the planet. And it goes right behind where the dipstick goes. It sits back in the recess of the transmission, so it clears tunnels. So like I said, you know, a Fox body is probably not the most tight as far as space goes, but it's pretty tight. So one of the nice things is that since this thing sits back into the tunnel, the crevice, I guess you would call it, it really avoids any tunnel clearance issues. So it's just going to bolt right there. I'm going to remove those 2 bolts, and it slides back and forth, so you can really kind of adjust it if it's in the way of something. But I don't think this thing's really going to pose us much issue about anywhere we put it. One of the reasons why this is really nice, you can see that it has the floating core pressure sensors. So it's actually got, these cores are dual isolated from vibration. The sensor core themselves floats on an O-ring, and then the what I call the slugs, which is this right here with the 3A end attachment, also comes an 1/8 inch, also floats on an O-ring. These things are, I never want to call anything indestructible because if it's man-made, it can be man-broken. And with this mounted in that vibration resistance, it really makes for a good combo. Also, the other nice thing is it's sometimes really hard to get those 1/8 inch style pressure transducers to fit where the lines go. This allows you to have a low profile line that goes right back to here from the lines going in and out of the transmission. The other nice thing about that is they can stay on the transmission. So if you have spare transmissions, you simply just leave all that stuff connected and then you hook up your lines as you would in like a factory vehicle. So it makes things really simple. It's a nice clean setup, and additionally it has these M5 expansion ports right here on the side. If you look at the actual wiring plug, which I'm holding in my hand, it has 4 inputs. Since this only has 2 pressure sensors, it has 2 extra spots open. You're only going to have 1 power and 1 ground to feed all of the sensor outputs from this block, which would be an input for the computer. So adding a fluid temp sensor is simple as a quick connect here, because all the power and grounds are already taken care of. So you can run this one harness up to the Dominator in this thing and have up to 4 sensors that are really easy to connect, and you're not searching for powers and grounds. Traditionally, if you were running like split 1/8 inch NPT sensors, you would have to run a power and a ground for each sensor, and then if you were running the temperature sensor, you would have to run a power and ground for that, for a fluid temperature sensor. So the goal of this is to make it really easy to wire, plumb everything, and then also be durable and vibration resistant. So before we get into the plumbing of this whole thing, like I said, we've got a 1/8 inch style. We've got an 1/8 inch style fluid temp sensor here. So that just screws right in there, and then you can see it has the same M5 quick connect that this up here does. So hooking this up is as simple as running this quick connect cable from here to here. I'm going to post a wiring schematic right now. You can just see that this would be sensor, you can see what sensor it is. So then on the harness, when you actually go to run your wiring, it's just very simple. You have one more data point. What's nice about this block, this is a simple car of course, but you can actually run 2 of these temp sensors. So if you wanted like one on each side of the, if you wanted one in the pan and one on the pressure side, you could definitely do that and monitor the effectiveness of your transmission cooler. But we're not going to do that. I just simply want to know what the temperature is there, which right, wrong, or indifferent, that's how I'm going to do it. So yeah, now that this is all done, we can actually, since we have an extra port, we can actually run it up to like cylinder head temp, or we could do an oil temp. It doesn't have to be transmission, but now you can see how easy it is to quick connect that, and the wiring just kind of goes along with the rest of the wiring. All right, you can see how we have it all plumbed up here, and you can see how like when you go to pull the transmission, you can leave this all hooked up and just take these 2 lines off, everything else stays connected. From here we have those 6 wires that have to be connected. Like I said, 1 power, 1 ground for the sensor, so that will come directly from the ECU, and then up to 4 inputs, I guess outputs on the sensor, up to 4 sensors. So we're obviously gonna have 1 left over, but I'll just hook it up to something on the ECU anyways, because currently and in the future we'll have other things that can hook up to these M5s, whether it's intake air temp, fluid temp, pressure sensors. We're always kind of evolving that M5 quick connection line. And because we could, this is all nice Tefsol wire, so I'm going to put some loom on it, and we're getting real close to getting this thing all buttoned up. All right, so we got our rife block all plumbed in. Remember, just 1 plug, 1 Deutsch plug, includes the temp sensor and both pressure sensors. So we have converter charge coming off the bottom port and line pressure coming off the top. Just run those over, and then of course we have a spare input left over in case we ever want to add another temperature sensor. But pretty clean setup. These are all quick disconnect, but really if you're going to pull the transmission out, you just take your 2 lines off and unplug this Deutsch connector and you're good to go. So we're coming around the home stretch. This thing's about ready to pop off. The one thing I did not have on this thing, shame on me, is a post filter. So we just came out with this post filter, and what better car to put it on than the car where it all started. This thing's made to flow and work with fuel pumps at 12 gallon a minute and some even larger. Of course there's a lot of factors that come into it, but one of the unique things about it, if you have not already seen it, it's a 12 ORB inlet. This is our post filter, and it has 2 10 ORB outlets. What's nice about that is there's no Y, so you actually reduce 2 leak points. Reducing leak points is huge in a fuel system. Not that things just start leaking all the time, but it's just a general safety concern. So basically, by having 2 outlets on the post filter, you are actually saving 2 connections that would have been on a Y. And it sure saves a lot of space and cleans things up a lot, because now you can run these 2 lines from right from here up to the fuel rail. This is a 10 micron microglass, so it's safe with ethanol, methanol, gas, race gas. The other nice thing about it is, as far as mounting goes, it's super low profile because we used a similar design bracket as we have on our catch cans, which is really handy. The part that mounts to the frame actually stays stationary, and then the rest screws off of it. So you don't have to take the whole mount and everything off. You just have to disconnect this side, unscrew this if you want to service filter, and then put it back on so it can all stay on the frame. This is obviously the post filter, 10 micron. We also have a pre-filter, which is 100 micron. This has a 12 ORB outlet, so it would be fuel flow, as you can see, would come that way, and 2 inlets. So this would actually go, and I'll probably end up putting it on the back of this thing. If you have a fuel cell with 2 outlets, they would run both into this. It would also, of course, save you a Y and all the stack up room of all the fittings and stuff like that. This one has a 100 micron stainless steel mesh filter, pre-filter, and that one's actually serviceable. You can actually wash it out and reuse it. Because it is a 100 micron, to get 10 microns of filtration, you just can't quite do it and have it be reusable. So that's why those things are all microglass, and then 100 micron. And then 100 micron is stainless. The reason why we use 10 micron is not because we want to or any reason specifically, except for most EFI injector manufacturers want to see that level of particulate filtration. One of the really handy things is we made these ORB female. So this actually has an 8 inlet, and it'll have 2 6 outlets. So like I said, this thing will flow and work into fuel systems and mechanical fuel pumps that are like 12 gallon a minute and even some larger, but it'll also, of course, work for smaller stuff. So that's what we're gonna use it on. All right, so this thing really just, I gotta move these hoses, but it barely squeezes in there. What's cool is you just put a wrench on it right here, spin that thing off. It'll leave that top half where it's connected to the fuel rails. So nice and clean, lines run right up there. Alright guys, everything's on. Some of the parts you've seen put on this thing, some you haven't because they're going to be all test parts, but we'll end the video with a good spool action. When Red and I were trying to get this thing to spool before, we were doing all kinds of crazy stuff, so I think I need to go back and look at the fuel, and you can see in the video it's puffing some smoke and all that stuff. Could be cleaning itself out, but most likely some of the crazy stuff we were trying to do to make it spool up is what's doing that. But the fact remains that spool is great, which means a little bit of tuning will only spool better. Well, I'd say our job here is done, and we'll head to the track. So keep an eye out for the next video. And don't forget to get your entries into our HED LS engine giveaway. This is the last week for it. Every $5 you spend gets you 1 entry automatically at Motion Raceworks or TBM Brakes. Yeah, we had to do it for science, that's for sure. Yeah. And then my foot flipped up. I don't know, yeah, we won't tell anybody about that. It'll be fine.